granted.
Replitters, and welcome to another edition of Replit 101 Coding Helpline, where we try our best to help people with coding problems, or you can add your own coding problems to the live chat and we'll take a look at them for you. In fact, what it has been for the last couple of weeks is a deep introspective study on how AI can help us or hinder us in the future of programming. So maybe this week we'll avoid that, but I doubt it because we've got a very special guest on this week's edition. But before we get started, I'm David Morgan, and let's take a look at what's new in Replit over the last 2 weeks. Very smooth today, David, very smooth. You saw the top of my head for about 4 seconds or something then. We have launched an amazing treat for our users in India. It's the first of our specific geolocated servers. Until recently, if you've used Replit in India, the round trip time to get to our servers in the States and back to your computer has been significant. And despite that, India is our third biggest group of users, which is amazing. So you've really struggled along, India, with difficult circumstances and a long round trip time. This week, we rolled out Replit India, where we have servers now in India, cutting that round trip time by a ridiculous amount. I can't remember if it's 90% or 900%, but it was a huge reduction. If you are a user in India and you want to try this out, simply go to your profile, click account, and if you scroll down, you'll see a new option under account for your server location. Now, we only have 2 servers international at the moment, the US and India, but if you are in India and you would like a quicker connection with less round trip time, change your server. This should propagate for both the mobile app and for the website, but it does mean a significant reduction in that round trip time and will make everything on Replit feel faster and better. It is wonderful. I say this, I know to our Indian viewers, it's 4 a.m. for you. So hopefully you're watching asynchronously rather than live. Aside from that, we've also had a redesign to the bounties page, and I think this is really, really cool. For instance, there's a big button that says bounties I've posted and just shows those, which if you're a bounty poster is revolutionary. It's changed a massive amount. There's also an assigned bounties page where you can see all the bounties that are assigned to you and just a nicer way of searching through it and posting bounties. Of particular interest, I think, because if you want to create a bounty now, oh, my bounty halfway through there is still there. If you want to create a bounty now, you get prompted as to what type of bounty it is from our most common types, and you'll automatically get assigned a value of what the average sort of price is, which gives you an idea about how much you should be pitching it for. So bounties has had a big improvement as well. We've also all had a bunch of small upgrades and improvements all around. So we're in a good place, I think. But if you are an Indian user, certainly you're getting the best of Replit this week and for the foreseeable future. There's also been one improvement, which isn't so much technology, but is something that I think is quite dear to me, is that the Replit shop has been updated. Now, I show this not as a quick plug for you to go and buy things, but I think some of this stuff is amazing. And it's been separated down into a bunch of different things, but you can now get Ghostwriter stuff, and I think it's amazing. This, I think, has to be for me very, very soon. But there's a bunch of stuff that you can grab if you want to. If you're a big Mark fan, it's not just on baseball caps anymore. It's on a bunch of other stuff. And if you're a Bounties fan, we've even got a collection based on that. So not as a way to go spend your money on physical goods, but if you are in for upgrading your wardrobe anyway, as I think I will be because I love that Ghostwriter shirt, the Replit shop got updated today. So with that out of the way, let's start with our first question of the night. Don't forget, if you're in the live chat and you've got a question in particular, or you need to, or you want to contribute, please do. That's what makes Replit 101 fun. That's what makes it the highlight of my fortnight, because I get to speak to you guys and you get to help me solve problems. And I see a question straight away from Kason in the chat here, which is that we should add C++ projects to the Learn tab on Replit. Well, if you've got ideas for the sort of things you'd like to be taught in a C++ way, that would be great. I mean, off the top of my head, C++ is predominantly used for sort of games dev and things like that. So it would be tutorials along those lines, I would imagine. But then they probably require things like the Unreal Engine, stuff like that, probably in the main. So it'd be great if you give me a few ideas about what you'd like to know about C++, or maybe that's another 100 days of. But coincidentally, the C++ question is one of the first questions we've got tonight, and I wanted to show you this because it gives me a nice way to introduce our new friend to the chat, which is, we've been using ChatGPT for a couple of weeks on Replit 101 and bringing it up occasionally when we've got a question that is off base or it's something a little bit different to what we usually want to talk about. But I got special permission this week to use Ghostwriter Chat, which is our own in-house coding focused chat AI. And it is pretty cool. So we're going to ask some questions of it tonight, but this is why I want to start with this question, because our Ask forums are full of this sort of stuff where a user will say, look, I need knowledge on something. In this case, they're asking for specific information about things like structs, functions, and arrays. And often this is the case. He says, my lecture is not being very helpful. Look, as a teacher, I know sometimes we get questions from students and we're on sort of lesson 2 or 3 about things that are not coming for a couple of months yet, and we sort of bat them away and go, think about this for now. But when you're interested, you're interested. So our community is great, but in this case, we've got a bunch of our community saying, oh, here's some examples, here's it. And Matt gets straight in there with some great examples from W3 schools, which is fantastic. But I just want to show you what things like Ghostwriter Chat can do for us, because if I create a new C++ template and add Ghostwriter Chat in, now this is why it's so nice, by the way, because it is just one of the options on here. I can bring it in and it pops up on the side. It's in your REPLs, so it's very, very nice to have there. And I ask it something like, tell me about structs. I'll have a think for a while and give me some examples and give me some ideas, which is pretty cool, isn't it? I love the chat-based interface, and the chat-based interface on Ghostwriter is, a 10x improvement on what it was before. Where I found it really useful for myself is that because it is there in all of my REPLs, and I ask it questions and it knows contextually what my REPL is and what's happening in it, that I get a lot more use out of it than I did with ChatGPT. So I'll give you an example. So the other day I was building something in Flask, which I've done, I've done hundreds of times. And it suddenly crossed my mind that this particular program would probably need some sort of caching if it got particularly popular. And I've never thought about even doing caching in Flask before, but Ghostwriter was there. And so instead of it being a question that appeared in my mind and then just vanished moments later, I asked it. And before you know it, I had caching set up inside my REPL. Now, the beauty of this is, of course, I can just go and copy this code and I can see how that works. So what I would say to anybody that is interested in learning fundamental things about a programming language that you are learning yourself, Ghostwriter Chat is going to be an absolute revolution to you, because it is like having a more helpful professor in your REPL, and it understands, or at least it will understand contextually, what it's all going to be. Now, if you saw our most recent town hall, you saw some of the spoilers for what's coming with that, but the integration with the files and understanding the entire context of your program is going to be sweet. I didn't get that. Could you try again? Siri, trying to interrupt us again. Hello to Buddy, who's in the chat. Hello to everyone that's in the chat. Let's go on to the next question. Now we've seen a bit of Ghostwriter Chat in action and see if we can solve an actual problem. Let's have a look. Oh, I wanted to pick up on this post from Big Mini Boss at the moment on Ask, because this is a user that was very frequent in the forums. He's disappearing away, but what I thought was really, really nice was a shout out to a bunch of our power users. And this is great, because if you're entering the Ask forums for the first time and you see people commenting, well, it's nice to know whether some people are, legends of the community or not. Maybe that's what we need on a badge for Ask, legend of the community. Maybe that'll help distinguish it for people. But I thought this was a great post because there's a bunch of people called out there as useful, and a bunch of people there called out as, these will help in this particular area. So I thought that was a great post to show. Oh, buddy, what are you asking questions about? Sorry, extensions of the new tab? Yeah, it's not out for extension beta test yet. No, the Ghostwriter one is a different one. I'm sorry. So the extensions tab is there. Extensions, I believe, roughly speaking, is a couple of weeks away from, I want to say an alpha. I want to say for everybody, I think. Again, I'm not 100% on that, but extensions are coming soon. Extensions are going to be a very exciting thing to what's going on. I know we have had some beta users before, but the what I was showing off then was Ghostwriter Chat, which is our chat-based user interface. Hello to Boyd as well in the chat. Don't forget, if you've got questions for me, if you've got anything that you want solved or things you're curious about, please pop them in the chat. We prioritize our live viewers over our forums. I want to show this off because I've been spending a bit more time in the Discord this week. I sort of felt that, I use the Discord. I use it as a reference a lot of the time, but I'm not chatting much in there. So I spent a bit more time chatting to people in there. And I got to say, as much as I got about the Ask Forum as being wonderful as well, people in the Discord have been absolutely lovely for me, to me. And, I've even got some example code sent to me for things that I'm about to work on, almost unprompted, really, just people being nice and offering things to me. So I thought I'd spend a bit more time in the Discord and have a look. Buddy's asking me my opinion on the new Repl shop merch. Buddy, you must have missed the beginning because I was looking at it. My favorite thing, I'll just once again show, my favorite thing in the world is this Ghostwriter t-shirt. I love that. I absolutely love that. That's going in my shopping cart almost straight away. Definitely. But that was all new today. Other questions? We can use Ghostwriter for projects. Ghostwriter, as it exists in its current form that you can pay for, is the autocomplete, it's the explain code, it's the generate code, and the transform code. So if you are interested in a bit more detail about what those are, if you go to the Replit Learn page, I've got tutorials on Ghostwriter there where you can go and see me using it for different purposes. That in itself, to me, is a 10x workflow improvement. But Ghostwriter Chat and the integrations coming soon, which, again, if you haven't seen our most recent town hall, go have a look at it because all of that stuff is amazing. But Ghostwriter Chat gives you that chat interface. So it's easier to talk to it and ask it questions, just like ChatGPT was. It's the interface more than the technology there that changed it. And we'll be adding things like complete understanding of the context of your REPL. The one that's really exciting is the error correction stuff. I don't have a working version of that, unfortunately, at the moment. But in future versions of Ghostwriter, when you get an error in your program, it'll suggest ways to fix it for you. So that is going to be pretty cool. Oh, Boyd. Right. Okay. This is an interesting question. Almost over with 100 days of code, and I'm confused what to take on next. Boyd, you're not the only person to have asked that question, but the skills you've picked up from 100 days of code are really in-demand skills. I would say to you, if you've completed 100 days of code, go to the bounties page and see if there's anything you're interested in working on. Now, don't get me wrong. After 100 days of code, you might not feel confident to go and take on a bounty that's worth, $2,500. But there are plenty of $20 bounties and $30 bounties for reasonably simple projects. Because don't forget, people don't post the bounties because they are technically unable to do something sometimes. They might post the bounties because they don't have the time to do it. Certainly, that's one of the reasons I post bounties, is because I've got an idea for something, but I just don't have the time to implement it. And I don't require a high skill set for some of the bounties that I post. But honestly, Boyd, one of the best ways to learn how to program properly, because 100 days of code gives you the skills, but the thing that makes you a confident programmer is taking on projects. It's difficult to think of your own project sometimes, especially when you're fresh off learning. The best thing you could do is find some of these low value bounties and take them on as projects. It'll add to your portfolio, it'll bring in a few cycles, and it'll give you an idea about, where your strengths are, things you need to work on, and give you a direction to go in next. And until we release other courses, other 100 days that people have been asking us for, I would honestly suggest that. There's never been an easier way to build up a portfolio of software development skills as bounties. And you can search, by the size of the reward if you want to. And don't get me wrong, after 100 days of code, you're probably not going to be able to build a $2,500 one, but there's lots of smaller ones. I have to go down quite far nowadays to get down to the smaller ones. But the further we go down, the more you might think, oh, maybe I can do this. Well, have a look at this one, $200. It's completed, but just as an example, right? I want a scraper that can take in any careers page URL and output the job title and link to apply in the console. That is something that you can do after day 96, 97 of 100 days of code. That is a project you could get your teeth into, you could build, and you could work it out. And you could make a bit of money from, and it goes in your portfolio for future development. So there's loads of bounties like this that exist that are worth looking at for your next challenge. Of course, if your next challenge, you want it to be learning a different programming language, learning a practical application of it, then there are many more things you can do. Boyd did follow up with this. What are some of the platforms courses I can go to learn more? Well, if doing a bounty is not your thing, I would say that the next step after 100 days of code in Python is to start specializing then. So what part of 100 days of code did you like? Were you one of the tiny subset of people that quite enjoyed messing around with UIs in Tkinter? Did you enjoy web scraping? Did you enjoy the console-based lifestyle? Did you enjoy the Flask stuff and the web dev stuff? And once you've identified the bit that you enjoy, the bit that you'd like to find out more about, it's easier to find other courses. I can't speak for any courses that are pretty good or bad, really. I don't know enough of the competing courses and stuff like that. We have got plans to bring more courses to the platform, but I'm just one bald dude. And I've got to split my time up amongst other things. So I hope, Boyd, that wasn't a rubbish answer for you. I hope you can get something from that. Obviously, I have to bring up Ash Straight one. Thank you very much. I appreciate people that appreciate my sense of humor, because that's what most of my teaching is. It's just telling silly jokes and trying to get you to remember things in silly ways. So I do appreciate anybody that enjoys my silly sense of humor and my dad jokes. So that's all good. Okay, let's have a look at the next question that we're going to look at in the Discord. I did start saying this earlier. I've been in the Discord a lot more this week, and I think that's going to be my way for the future. I've really enjoyed actually going to Discord this week and talking to people. And the thing is, as a teacher, right, Discord was what our students used to talk to each other. So as a teacher, I wouldn't have gone on Discord that much because it's a bit like bumping into your students at the shops. It's a little awkward for everyone, and you're just trying to buy your milk and bread and leave. But now that I'm not teaching everyone every day, Discord is a lot nicer, I think, and a lot more useful. So say goodbye to Steve there. Steve, I hope you have a good time. Hopefully the recording is entertaining for you. And I found Discord actually that a lot of the questions are being answered in a good way. And I want to start with this one because not only is the question interesting and comes up a lot, but I want to sort of go a bit further into the way in which people are trying to answer this and see if we can come up with a better way. Let's have a buddy says, be more active and off topic. Yeah, I saw you chatting there earlier, actually, buddy. I'm just creepily stalking that bit at the minute because I haven't got up the excitable energy to post it off topic yet. I'm just focusing on the bits I'm I'm good at. I'll jump in there and say hello though. I also think there's a little bit of an awkwardness about me joining the voice chat channels as well, because there was something going on earlier on that I fancied jumping into, but didn't want to creep people out by just being like, hello. So maybe you can invite me to something that's going on, or an event that's going on there. That would be nice, or nice introduction. That would be great if you guys could. Right, let me get on to this question, because I've been struggling for a while. So this is a really interesting one, because, and hopefully I can zoom a little bit more here. I'm going to tap open in browser here to see if, whoa, get that a bit better. There we go. So this is a really common question that I used to field all the time when I was teaching. So we've got a person that's written a subroutine here, and they've used a break, and of course breaks are for loops. So they get an error that says something like, in this case, syntax error, break is outside the loop. And they go, well, it's not. I've indented everything. I've used break. Break can be a bit of a crutch sometimes when you're programming. And it's the reason why, if you've watched 100 Days of Code, I start off talking about while loops, and I give you proper while loops, and then I show you a while true loop, and I'm like physically disgusted with myself for showing you a while true loop. And it's because while loops are designed so that the condition in them should stop a loop. There should always be a condition in a while loop that stops it. And when you do things like while true loops, you're just forcing an infinite loop on the program and hoping that you can code it with breaks so you can get out of it. I avoided teaching those kind of loops with breaks for a long time before it became apparent to me that a lot of the exam board questions assumed that you'd be using them. And actually, I got over it later on, and got over this visceral disgust I get at using while true loops and breaks, because it does lead to this. It leads to people sticking a break in and thinking, cool, that ends the loop. This isn't even the loop. Now, I think the obvious answer here, how do you fix this, is that you use a return. In a subroutine, to stop the subroutine executing and go back to the main code, use a return statement. Even if you return nothing, you could just use return and it would break and it would come back. But did the user want this to be a loop? Is there an easy way to explain this? And the reason I bring this up is because it's it's people trying to explain it. Yep, this user clearly is new, and we've got answers like there's no loop, only works in loops, it's on for loops, Google the error. We finally get the answer here. You're looking for return, and then our OP says, well, all right, how do I imply the loop? So, to me, this conversation is almost like you need to read the room a little bit. You need to read that this person needs a bit more guidance on what a return statement is. They might have just forgotten it. They might think that a loop is a subroutine, but yeah, I thought that was an interesting question, and how it was dealt with. And it was, it was solved in the end. And Chuking did a good job of explaining how that worked and how it was going on. But for so many of us, our reaction is just to go, it's not a loop. People sometimes just are not in the position to go, what do you mean there's no loop? What they don't, that for whatever reason, this user did not notice or understand that there wasn't a loop there, or why they needed a return statement. So I think it's always worthwhile, is if you are going to add to the conversation, the discourse, it's always worth saying there is no loop. You put a subroutine in. Breaks only work on loops. Here's a link, something like that, just a bit more context. Never be tempted just to give the one-line answer. And I'm the same. I'm constantly there writing a one-line answer, about to press return, and I stop myself. And it's going back and adding that context, adding that more, even if sometimes you feel like you're well, look, I know we're all programmers here, we're all computer scientists, so we like code. We all we are all generally cleverer people, let's be honest, right? So sometimes it's not the fact that somebody's not clever, they just not understood something, or they've not picked something up. and it's trying to be clear, it's trying to be positive, but not in a dismissive way. And I think this was eventually answered very positively. But we all have to resist that temptation to just give the one-liner and feel good about ourselves. Here's another one, and this is one I wanted to show off Ghostwriter chat again, because this is a pretty cool one. It's a very straightforward question, I think, and I think many of you, if I were to hide the solved part with 2 lines of code, how long would it take you to spot the error? I think it's a very, very clear error here. And in fact, it's something that I think by day 14, I put in there multiple times. I've answered this one question because this is a common question I get asked. I'm brand new to learn to code, Ghostwriter trials are over, not sure if I need to upgrade to the Hacker or Ghostwriter $10 a month. Ghostwriter at the moment is only available on its own. So if you subscribe to Hacker, that's a different thing than Ghostwriter. We will be having different Hacker plans, which include things like Ghostwriter, I believe, coming soon. That hasn't all gone through yet, but that's been mentioned in the Ask forums, so I believe that's reasonably public knowledge. But if you are looking just for Ghostwriter, then just purchase Ghostwriter. Don't worry about the Hacker plan. The Hacker plan gives you different benefits. It gives you a following boosted REPL. So whichever REPL you're in is, I think it's 4x, which is pretty nice. It makes Replit feel faster and more responsive. It gives you 1 always on, 1 boosted REPL. And there's a bunch of private REPLs, I believe, but there's a bunch of smaller, different kinds of benefits you get from Hacker, but it does not include Ghostwriter. So if Ghostwriter is what you're looking for, buy the Ghostwriter and don't worry about the Hacker, because you don't get it with Hacker. So this question in particular, I think, is pretty good at showing off things like Ghostwriter chat and why they're going to be so powerful for us. So let's just make a Python REPL and we'll pop this code in and we'll run it. Now, I don't have access to the version that automatically picks up my error messages, unfortunately, because in any version of Ghostwriter chat that will be coming reasonably soon, we should have it all integrated with the error message. And at this point, it would have popped up and say, oh, there's a problem. Would you like me to talk about it? But I've not got that version. So let's bring Ghostwriter chat into the bottom here. And you notice there, it's got the same chat from the last place I was going. So I can go from REPL to REPL. I've got an error with my code. It says, and we'll get that code in here. I fix it. And there we go. Ghostwriter's given us a good example. And it's telling us how to do it. So we might say, ours is coming from user input. How do I fix it? And there we go. You see it's picked up the context of the file. So it's not just, I haven't at all pasted the code into Ghostwriter chat here. It's picked up the context for me. So I can copy that, paste the entire program. I like your comment, Ghostwriter chat. That's lovely there. And if I stop it and I run it now, right. Now, you might have hit the second problem, which is something I always think about. It's like, well, a lot of people when they learn the program will go, well, nothing came out of it. Well, you need to tell it to print, don't you? But, imagine we were a new coder and we were asking it. We could say something like, how do I get it? Show the answer. Sort of a more naive way of writing the question. And, Ghostwriter chat's showing us how to do it and showing us the complete code. And we can just copy that. And if you think about something like ChatGPT, it works great. And sometimes it does hallucinate solutions to things. But the beauty of something like Ghostwriter chat, again, coming soon, you can't get it just yet, is that it is just there. and it understands the context of your code, and it understands your REPL, and it understands what you're doing at the moment. So not only does it remember the states, but it can look at what you're doing and give you more useful help. And I think that's pretty cool. Yes, I would agree with this. I'm attempt to pronounce it. Quifle? We'll see. I love trying to pronounce usernames. I'm sure I've said that wrong, but you can improve that for me. But yeah, I think Ghostwriter Chat is amazing for debugging. And as I said earlier, it's just good for, I'm sure you've had this experience as well. You have a sudden fleeting thought. How do I? And then you just dismiss it because you're like, oh, I can't be bothered to get out. I can't be bothered to go there. Oh, and you don't even have time to process it really. Your brain just goes, oh no, carry on. The beauty of Ghostwriter Chat is just, if you have an errant thought, you can just ask them there. Feel like I've won at life today because I pronounced the name right. Thank you, Ollie. I will. Score's also saying Ghostwriter Chat, Ghostwriter versus Chat is always there. Yet the overloading of Chat GPT is quite frustrating sometimes, isn't it? And I think there's a paid version of Chat GPT coming out, which is great, but I still find the fact that I have to get the code from Chat GPT into Replit sometimes to be a stumbling block for people. I think Replit is going to do great out of ChatGPT because people that have a little code understanding, they can get something up and running and use ChatGPT to pull that together. But for those of us that are trying to improve our programming skills, something like Ghostwriter Chat is a 10xer for me because I can just ask it questions as I'm going. I don't have to go to Stack Overflow. I don't have to Google things. I don't have to read APIs anymore. I can just go, how does this work? Like, earlier on, I was building something in React, and I was like, how does this component work? And it just explained it to me, and I think that's really cool. Oh, Ollie said $20 per month, and is it just priority access? Is that all it is? It's just sort of, if we're busy, you still get access. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, the thing is, it's a general purpose large language model, isn't it? I think the important thing to remember about something like Ghostwriter Chat, our product, is that it's tweaked and designed to be your coding partner, your coding helper. So it's there for helping you program. And I think the utility of something like that that's focused for me as somebody that programs is significantly better than just a generic large language model. I'm saying generic. It's an amazing technical feat. I absolutely love ChatGPT, but sometimes it does weird stuff with code, and sometimes it just has a bit of a whinge and a cry because I've asked it to show me something in code. I recorded a video for my own YouTube channel the other day, and this is the first time I've done this in a long time. Cough button. Just for the cough button fans in the audience, just an announcement. And so I was recording a video on how ChatGPT could be used with an NEA. And an NEA is a type of exam in the UK where computer science students around the ages of 15 or 16 have to sit an exam on a scenario written by the exam board that's different every year. They're not allowed to ask for help from teachers, other students. They're not allowed to use the internet. They're not allowed to look at any old code, and they have to complete it in lesson time. So you can't, in that situation, you can't ask anybody for help. So I did a video on how you could use ChatGPT to help you in that situation. If you get home and you're stuck and you can't ask anybody, well, ChatGPT does a pretty good job at giving you examples. But even then, it does some weird stuff. And it has a bit of a whinge going, I can't possibly give you any code. I'm a large language model. Yeah. Ghostwriter Chat is designed to be a coding partner. So it'll give you the code and help you to how it works. Cough button fans in the audience. That's what I love to see, Ollie. That's what I love to see. So sorry, there's me going on and on about ChatGPT there, but it is going to change everything, these sort of chat type interfaces. And more than anything else, I think the chat type interface with Ghostwriter Chat has really just changed the way I think about an AI assistant. It's always there for me. I can always ask it a question and it can get it done. I did see something popping up here earlier on that I wanted to bring up, which I seem to have lost now. There we go. Buddy said, I wish Ghostwriter was in Hacker. We have other packages coming up soon, Buddy. So just keep your eye up. We'll announce them, I'm sure. I know they've been mentioned in the Ask forums, but I don't know to what level of detail, or I don't even know in terms of what's added to it. But like very sensibly, a package that included Ghostwriter would be something to do, wouldn't it? So hopefully that'll be coming soon to a purchase button near you. Right, now we've solved that relatively simple Python program, and our Ask people are great and answering it quickly, but Ethan, who's an amazing mod, sometimes in the chat, if you're in there, Ethan, hello to you. But he's a JavaScript dev. He's tried to answer the Python question and he's used int with the capital I. And Dragon Hunters had to go, oh, remember it's lowercase I, and that happens all the time. So some poor learners can sometimes get a bit confused when people are trying to offer help but just use slightly the wrong syntax. And I've done this myself. When I was teaching, I'd go from a lesson where I was teaching Python to a lesson where I was teaching PHP to a lesson where I was teaching Java. And I'd just be going to my students, I can't remember the syntax of anything. I'm going to have to Google this, because you're having to hold so many different things in your head at the same thing. Kason's come back to tell us what sort of thing that he'd be interested in. Anything above beginner level would be amazing. I've been in C++ for years. I've always wanted to do a harder project, a good description of what to do. Okay, I'll put that on the list of things to look at and things to go with. We are actively seeking projects that appeal to higher level learners, more adult learners as well, but people with an experience in a subject that want to learn more, push it further. That's what we feel is missing from the Learn page at the moment. There's lots of introduction to courses, but there need to be more advanced courses, more, games dev in C++, optimizing code in C or something like that, or mathematical models in Haskell, stuff like that appeals to people that already have an underpinning knowledge but want to improve in an area, is what I feel we're missing in Learn. So that's what we're actively looking at the moment. Okay. Here's an interesting question. I'll be honest, I don't know how to solve this one, but I've got a reasonable guess. So the question is, as ever, about Discord chatbots. I assume it's Discord. Yeah, it is the Discord API error in it. I built one recently for the database's launch. And by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you guys. I've had an amazing experience of interaction with the community after having published that REPL. Just saying goodbye to Ollie there. No worries, Ollie. Please enjoy marking your exams. Oh, sorry, no, you've got a mock computer science exam tomorrow. You'll smash it, don't worry. It'll be great. Just remember, the most important thing is that you answer for the exam, which sometimes means simplifying your knowledge. I'm not joking with this either. I had a student once with a question exam, which was explain how text is stored in a computer system. And they talked all about different encoding types. They talked in tremendous detail. I had to give them a 0 out of 3 because all the mark scheme said was numbers in a table that represent text. When the number's pressed, the text appears. Like, yeah, cool. This student was talking about different encoding types, Unicode versus ASCII. Really go into town with it because they had an existing knowledge. So just be careful with that, Ollie. Make sure that you adequately express yourself at the level at which you're being examined. But good luck with that. Sorry. So back to the question at hand. This is a Discord chatbot, built one recently, and you know what? I'm going to actually pull that interaction up because I enjoyed this interaction. I had people commenting on me going, "Oh, look at this! This is really funny. This person's ripping you apart." But sorry, completely the wrong button there. I need to get to this cover page. There we go. So this is a program I wrote, and the point of this program was to demonstrate Postgres SQL within a REPL, which is a pretty cool thing. And for something like $1 a day, you get access to a serverless Postgres REPL, which is really, really cool. And you can connect with like one line. So if you're into your transactional database model, it's a really nice way of getting it done and having it really, really modern and usable. But of course, I wanted to build something realistic. So I built a Discord bot with sentiment analysis, and it measures the toxicity of the people posting and puts people in timeouts for a quadratic amount of time. What that means is it doubles every time they get put in a timeout. And the web interface allows you to manually put them back in. Now, let's have, because here we go. I can find the one with all the feedback in it. One with lots of replies, this one here. So this user, coding, is that a J? Coding JLU, posted at me and said, first of all, this code is really bad. And I know people from around the internet were like, oh, he said it. And they were sending me messages on Discord, and they were sending me messages in the Ask forum, and they were sending me messages in Slack going, oh, somebody's rinsing you in the comments. And I, having taught computer scientists and having taught people who are experts in a certain field for a long time, I find this sort of discourse fun, because this is somebody with a knowledge in the area going, you have done it wrong. But what was nice about this interaction, and this is why, not having published many REPLs, because that's not really the job I have in Replit, but this is the first one I properly published and we made a big deal of. I really enjoyed this interaction because they gave me an example of an SQL injection attack that worked. They were able to run it and cause the REPL to just go offline. And I just got in there going, I love the fact you broke this. So I literally did the first thing I could think of, right? I literally did the first thing I could think of. And being a PHP developer, that is something called sanitizing input, which is the first thing you do when you pull data in. So I did this. I Googled, how do I sanitize input in Python, pulled it in, stuck it in. I went, cool, I think I've sorted it. And the user went, no, it's still not working. And do you know what was nice is that because I engaged with this user, look at the conversation, look at the level of detail this person's giving me about things that should work and shouldn't work. And suddenly I go, I understand now. I see what I've done wrong. And what it turned out to be was, as I was building the web interface after everything else was working, and I've built a Discord bot at this point, I've gone to town with it, it's doing some cool stuff, and I was trying to be lazy in building the web interface. I didn't actually use parameterization, which means I didn't get it in the right way. I just used an F string to construct the query, and that left me open to abuse. So I fixed that. He sort of explained some more problems to me, and I took a look and improved it. Now, things that I wouldn't have done if I didn't have this interaction. One is it would still be vulnerable to SQL injection attacks. I taught about those for years. I would give example projects where people could SQL inject problematical code into examples I was giving to show how bad it was. And because I was building a complex thing and I was doing just a peripheral bit of it, completely slipped my mind. So it's important that we have people that can point those things out and help you improve them. But also, because of that, I was like, well, do you know what? How can I make it better? Let me have a think. Are there security issues? Are there problems here and here? And we all know what Discord bots are like. Occasionally they'll have a bit of a freak out because they can't connect to the server. Occasionally they'll be rate limited. There are things that happen with Discord bots that are just a bit of a pain and a bit of a fact of life. And so I protected against all that stuff. I put code in to notice if it was an infinite loop, to notice if it hadn't been connected, if it wasn't in the right place, and to deal with that. I would never in a million years have gone to that amount of effort after I'd published it, were it not for that nice level of engagement. So I would encourage you all, publish something on Replit, publish it to the community. Somebody will critique your work. They might not be very nice about it, first of all, but the critique is worthwhile because we don't improve unless we have somebody point out where we've gone wrong. And if there's one thing I've found about the Replit community, you guys that come regularly to Replit 101 is that you like to engage and that you like to have that back and forth conversation. And I really encourage you all to do that. Buddy is saying isn't publishing something about 6 months, not sure what to make now. I mean, anything really, isn't it? I mean, the important thing about publishing is just getting a bit of feedback about something you've built or something you've just learned or something that you're just lazy about. You know, with me, it was stuff that I actively taught, but just got lazy with one particular issue. It's nice to have those things pointed out to you and then give you the impetus to go back and improve it. But if you build anything, even if it's a very small sample program, publish it, get somebody to give you some feedback on it, get that critique, improve it. It's all a very nice back and forth. And I tweeted about that one because I thought that was a really nice interaction I had. Anyway, back to the question at hand. The question is that the Discord bot is crashing whenever there's a system message. And I believe that's because system messages are just announcements. They're not things that you can reply to. And the bot is trying here. Now, to me, straight away, what I'd be doing is I'd be looking at the type of the message, which I'm sure we can get by Googling the Discord, by Googling the Discord API. And I'm sure there's a way of us saying, if it's a system message, do nothing. There's almost definitely going to be a way to do that. I mean, alternatively, we could wrap this entire thing, posting the message bit up, and then try accept command if it's Python. Is it Python? Let's have a look. Oh, it's JavaScript. Oh, async await. Happy days, happy days. Let's have a look. Oh, not keep alive code. Oh, that's the dodgiest stuff in the world, that is. Seriously though, if you can build your Discord bot and turn always on, do that. So much more consistent than keep alive code. But yeah, so there we go. Our message has been sent here. This is almost certainly what's causing the crash. Sending that back there, or possibly the reply. I probably would I'd wrap these lines in whatever the JavaScript equivalent of try and accept is. Well, do you know what? Let's ask ChatGPT. Let's fork this REPL and let's ask. We're not going to run this because I've lost now the Discord secrets. Well, I hope they've been using secrets to keep their Discord key, and they have. So I've lost the token. I've lost their OpenAI connection keys and things like that. So I can't run this REPL now because I have to bring in my own. But let's bring in Ghostwriter chat. And let's see if they can help me out a little bit with this. What is the equivalent of Python's try accept JavaScript? Let's have a look. Oh, try and catch. Oh, something went wonky halfway through there. Let's try that again because it was just starting to generate a nice answer for me. Try and catch makes sense because that's very similar to the Java Java code, isn't it? Oh, it is almost identical. So I'd probably say just, as a first step, I'm not sure what typing is there, but I think that says, I think I'm right in saying that this is the bit that sends a message to the channel to say the bot is typing. So that's probably not causing a problem. It's probably this line here. So I'd probably be looking at doing this. I believe my JavaScript syntax is correct there. Oh, look at me writing JavaScript in Replit 101. It's the first time that's ever happened, I think. But I think that's what I would be trying, because what the can't speak tonight, sorry. What the try catch construct does is it says, look, give this code a go, and if there's any problem, do the code in this catch bit here. If it's trying to reply then to a place that it can't reply, rather than just completely dying, what it should do is just post to the console and say, I couldn't post this message, here's the error. But it isn't going to bring down the entire bot. And that is half the battle with a Discord bot. Half the battle is making sure that things that could cause it to crash don't. Because your Discord bot should always be on, it should always be watching, and it should always be actioning them. It should always be reacting to things that are done inside the chat. So that's probably how I would go about fixing that. And in fact, what I'm going to do is reply to, have I lost that now? I forked the code, didn't I? Yeah, of course I did. Let me get my toolbar back. No, it was here. So please pay no attention to the amount of tabs I've got open. We're not going to get to all of those. Right, okay. So I'm going to suggest this, and they can tell me off if I can't. Does anyone remember what the code block syntax is for Discord? Is it 3 of those? No, it's not. This is where I have to embarrass myself now and look somewhere else for what the code block syntax is on Discord. Or is it just a single tick? Maybe. I don't know. You guys in the chat, I'm sure you can tell me if I'm doing this right. I'm going to say it looks like it's being posted crashed the entire program. This try catch construct will stop it crashing. Just show you the error. Okay, I'm going to give this a go. Let's see if the code block pops up. Hey, code block syntax. We'll see if that works, or if I get told that I'm a complete moron because I do know nothing about JavaScript, which is quite possible as well. Right, guys, we're getting towards time now. We were going to go on to this one next, which is PHP, which is one of my first loves as a programming language. It makes people feel a bit sick nowadays, but PHP is one of those languages where no matter what language you learn first, they've included that syntax in there somewhere. So you can write PHP in a Pythonic way. You can write PHP as if it was C. You can write PHP sometimes as if it was JavaScript. It is a beautiful language, if not a little bit clunky nowadays. But there we go. Just say hi to Kaiser there. Hello. I'm gonna not answer this one this week because we're very close to time and I want to tie a few things up. But just to remind you there that we've used Ghostwriter chat today to answer a few questions. Is a pretty cool way of interacting with Ghostwriter. Coming soon, date to be decided. But now I've got permission to use it in the live streams, you'll probably see it a bit more because I find it much nicer a way to ask questions and to get answers than anything else there. Okay, coming up, events this week. There is an amazing Weights and Biases hackathon taking place from Saturday. Now, this is something you'll need to sign up for because it's a couple of things. It's doing machine learning and AI on Replit by tapping in to GPUs. Now, being able to purchase and run GPUs is something that only explorers have at the moment. If that interests you, go into your profile and turn on the Explorers tab. However, if you want to have the GPU used for free for the hackathon, I believe it's for the hackathon anyway, then we will give you the cycles to run that as part of the hackathon if you sign up and get accepted. It's a pretty cool way of having access to a GPU and building things that rely on GPU machine learning, training models and things like that in a really cool way. The kickoff event is on our YouTube channel as a recording of the last live event that happened last week. a week before maybe, but it was a very, very cool event. And the proper kickoff is on Saturday. But once again, if you're interested in being part of a machine learning hackathon on Replit, where we give you the ability to turn on extra GPU power to power the machine learning, then you have to register in advance. If you go to our community page, replit.com/community, you'll see a new event slider across the top where you can click on the machine learning weights and biases hackathon and get a bit more information about it and sign up to it there. But it's well worth it if you've got any interest in that sort of things, or just want to see how GPUs and ML work on a platform like Replit. You know, spoilers, very well. That's how it works. We're also going to be starting a brand new live stream with me, which is another opportunity to see me make a fool of myself once a month, where we're going to be teaching me new programming paradigms and modern methods. Date to be decided, but I've got a few people lined up to teach me more modern things. So you can see me struggle to understand something for a change, rather than just talk about all the things I seem to know about, or at least have had the chance to research beforehand. Once again, guys, everyone that was in the live chat, thank you so much for being a part of Replit 101. It is honestly a pleasure. This is the best part of my fortnight, to come here and hang around with you guys for an hour. And I really hope that you enjoy the live stream and that you enjoy the async watch if you're there watching the VOD, not on Twitch. It's just called a recording on YouTube. As it stands, thank you very much for being a part of the stream, guys. And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time for another edition of Replit 101, where we will be solving the problems of loads of people on Replit again, and hopefully a few more questions in the lives. Thanks, guys. Bye.